So, good day, everyone. Welcome to this live event. Today is Valentine's Day, so many blessings on this special day. And I am Mayumi Beckers from the Netherlands, and I'm a founding member of Shaman's Directory, and I'm honored to be here with you today on this day. And I also want to let you know to say feel free to say hello in the chat and where you're viewing from. And I also encourage you to light up a candle and maybe burn some incense and create a nice space for yourself as we are receiving beautiful wisdom and medicine from our speaker today, Joan Wilcox. And let me just first give a little bit of an introduction about us. Shaman's Directory is a global online platform for shamanic earth-based services. We are a nonprofit created for healers, teachers, clients, and the curious. And our vision is to keep all shamanic lineage-based wisdom and medicine traditions from across the world alive. And we want to make shamanic healing accessible to anyone who seeks healing, teaching, and guidance. And we also want to demystify shamanism so that it can be more and more considered as a regular health and well-being routine. And today we have a special event on this particular day of Valentine's Day to explore love and all of its manifestations and how we can cultivate the power of love ourselves, as it is our highest frequency that we can generate. And of course, it starts with ourselves, that we can then emit to other ones, to our family, loved ones, our communities, and also the world as a whole. And well, many of us actually tend to look for love outside of us, but it's actually something that we need to develop from within, from that place of self-love, because we cannot fully give or fully receive if we don't love ourselves, which also includes, of course, all of our greatness, but also our weakness. And as I also want to quote Carl Jung here, the longest journey most of us have to take is from the mind to the heart. So for some, this practice of unconditional love using the power of will may require a lifetime, but with this support from the beauty of the Andean cosmology, we can actually get started today. And there's no better person to clarify how to cultivate love under a will than our guest, Joan Parisi Wilcox, who's truly bountiful with love. And she's also an author, a teacher of the Andean mystical traditions, and our dear friend and ambassador of Shaman's Directory. And we are truly honored to have her here. So welcome, Joan. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And I look forward to our deep dive into Munay, or unconditional love.
Great. So for those of you who don't know Joan, I want to give a little introduction before we start. Joan has studied the Andean sacred arts for close to 3 decades and teaches the tradition to students around the globe. She's the author of Masters of the Living Energy, The Mystical World of the Quero of Peru, and 2 other books. She has written dozens of magazine articles, been interviewed for podcasts and radio, and appeared in several documentary films about the Andean mystical tradition and metaphysics in general. Through her blog, kentiwasi.com, House of the Hummingbird, she shares the wisdom of the Andes. In the past, she has worked with frontier scientists exploring the new biology, including the human biofield. She has served as mistress of ceremonies and lectured at bioenergetic conferences in the United States and Europe. Joan has also worked as a freelance book editor for publishers, specializing in books on metaphysics and frontier science. She loves to explore at the boundaries of the known and collaborate with other curiosity seekers. So I also want to say to you all that throughout our exploration today of Munay, there will be room to ask questions. So feel free to put them in our chat. But please, I want to let you know to bear in mind that we don't do on-screen live interactions today. So for those of you who are not familiar with Zoom, there's a button at the bottom of the screen. So you can click on that if you want to share or ask anything to Joan. So let's get started, Joan. Welcome again. Thank you for being here. It's
Welcome.
a delight.
Well, thank you for having me. And I think we'll begin with a little prayer and a little acknowledgement of all the love and support we get from the Wachus, the lineages in which we work in the Andes, and from Creator. So we'll just take a moment to do that, okay? Humphrey Titantius, Humphrey, creator of love, essence of love, giver of love. Humphrey, be with us. Humphrey Pachataita, Father Cosmos, and Pachamama, Mother Earth, creators of the manifest universe, creators of this human world, creators of all that exists, all that will exist, creators of the depths of our being, which is the essence of love. Your love supports us in every way in our human walk. For this, we thank you, and we invite you to be part of our Ayu. Humpwe to all the Pakokuna, all of the Pacos in the field of living energy that have seeded themselves into the universe through their Munay, Yachai, and Yankai. I ask them to be with us, to support us as we take a deep dive into Munay, opening our minds, our hearts, our ability to be love in the world. We ask for your support. Humpwe.
Beautiful. Thank you for this opening blessings. I think people can feel this energy already of love, and that is so much more than what we were talking about before this talk, to sort of prepare ourselves that on this day, on Valentine's Day, many people may go for candlelight dinner or send each other postcards or, bouquet of flowers and chocolates. But as I also mentioned in the introduction, this is something again to look for love outside of yourself, and many want to maybe receive some form of appreciation or acknowledgement, and whether it's romantic or not, but any important people around you, like family, loved ones, and your colleagues. So I want to ask you to start, how does this searching for external love differ from cultivating internal and unconditional love?
Yeah, that's the essence of what we're talking about today, isn't it? And I would like to begin by just saying, isn't love in any form wonderful? Okay. So we celebrate any form, expression, capacity for love. But in our spiritual walk, we recognize that there's a way to develop our love, just like we develop any other of our capacities. And on this Valentine's Day, we're talking more about being in love. And in this human realm, love can be a little fickle, it can be conditional. When we're being in love with someone or feeling love for someone in our relationships, it's usually conditioned, and it's usually influenced by our inner state in the moment, by our emotions. And those shift all the time, depending on how we're feeling, a little tired or, overjoyed, or how someone else is being in relationship with us, is interacting with us. 1 minute we love them, they say something that we don't really like, that triggers us, and then we don't love them so much. So the emotion of love is subject to the whims of circumstance. It's not constant. As I was thinking about this subject we're talking about today, I was thinking about something one of my teachers said. My primary teacher is Juan Nunez del Prado, and his son, Ivan, is also, I consider, one of my teachers. And their first language is Spanish. And when Ivan said once when he learned English, he found it kind of odd and a little bit funny the way we talk about love, this romantic love, being in love. Because he said, you have all these expressions like, I fell in love, like it was some accident, or I found love, or I hope love finds me, like it's just something lucky that happens to you, or it's a subject to chance. And that is the condition of being in love. It is subject to the whims of the moment, the circumstances we find ourselves in, to our needs and wants and desires in the moment, and whether we think the other person on the other half of the relationship is meeting those needs, wants, and desires. So that's being in love. But what we're talking about today is being love. And being love is obviously a state of being. It's about our inner essence. It's all inward. It's not subject to chance and randomness and the whims of our desires or the vagaries of circumstance. It is. It can't be conditioned in any way by what anyone else is saying or doing, or how they're reacting to us or not, by chance or luck or randomness. There's a Buddhist teacher, Stephen Levine, who said something along the lines of love, being love, the love that we're talking about, Munay in the Andean tradition, is love that is empty of everything but love. That's what being love is. It's an essence that once you've developed yourself to it, it is. There's a funny little thing. I think it was Ram Dass. And he said, what do you get when you squeeze an orange? You get orange juice. You don't get apple juice, and you don't get grape juice. Okay. Being in love, if love is the orange, when you squeeze the orange, sometimes what comes out is grape juice or apple juice. But when you're being love and you have acquired the capacity, it's imprinted in your essence. Then when you get squeezed by other people's behaviors or words or circumstances, it doesn't matter how you're squeezed. What comes out is love. That's how I see the difference.
I think that's a great metaphor. Your own, whatever fruit you are, that's you, and how you, yeah, be that love and create that love within you as well, and what comes out of it as well as something really beautiful, right? That's very nourishing as well. So yeah, thank you for this explanation, and also about this, what is really perfect for today about being in love and being love, that you're addressing those distinctions as well. I think that's very important today. And being love also seems so much more than just self-love as well, and you were already saying that. And it's also something that is really connected to our own, level of frequency. The higher that we are, the more bright and light we can be, and that we can really emanate to others around us. And I think the beauty also is, if we don't really expect anything in return, but it will return in some way or in some form from the world around us. So it is actually beneficial anyway, right? So I want to ask you, how can we become more self-empowered and practice the art of actually being love?
Well, let me start by saying that it all begins with a choice. It comes down to choice. I think at first, the idea of being love is an aspiration. It's something that we know is valuable, that we value cultivating in ourselves. So it's a goal we set for ourselves. We have to do that through our clear consciousness, our intention. But once it becomes a goal, then it's like Aini in the Andes. Aini is intention, but not just intention. Aini is intention and action. And so it's any kind of self-development, whether it's being love or any other capacity. We have the aspiration, we set the goal, and then we have to practice. So we have to find tools that you can use to do our inner work. And there's a whole host of different kinds of tools that we can use. But I think no matter what the form of the tool, the energy behind whatever tool we use starts with two qualities of our own consciousness. We have to cultivate observation. We have to cultivate an observational self so that in every moment, we're remembering to be aware, to observe ourselves, in this case, in relationship. Observation, though, the observational self is totally non-judgmental. It's not making any kind of comment. It's just saying, this is impatience. This is kindness. It's just stating what is in the moment, but we have to be aware of what we are moment to moment. So once you cultivate the observer capacity, then we can bring self-inquiry to what we have observed. That's the practice part of it. So, okay, why was I impatient in that moment? Why is this person triggering me? Why did I'm aware that I'm projecting onto this person. Why? A lot of people don't like to ask why questions, but they're very useful, okay? And that means that we have to, through observation first and then self-inquiry, we have to see ourselves as objectively and as clear-eyed as possible. See what we're desiring in the moment, what we're wanting in the moment, what we're needing in the moment that's coloring the way we're interacting with people. That will show us usually how we're falling short of love. But if we're being clear-eyed, we'll also see those moments when we are being loved. So we're patting ourselves on the back and we're also picking ourselves up by our bootstraps at the same time. And this kind of a process, it always starts with consciousness. And then the choice to do something about the state we find ourselves in, either to motivate ourselves to remember to bring those beautiful, kind and calm and peaceful and delightful moments to our relationships that we see in ourselves, or to adjust to the feedback we're giving ourselves when we're not in those states. This kind of a process is a way to free yourself from those needs, wants, and desires. You can only free yourself when you're looking at them with love, with self-compassion, not beating yourself up and judging yourself. But we have to see what and who we are. We have to be really clear-eyed about what our essence is right now. We have to know our starting point. And that starting point might vary in different relationships. It might be we're developed in different ways with different kinds of relationships, but this is the process of freeing ourselves from just unmindful, unconscious, habitual, shadow-driven modes of relating. And it not only frees us, ultimately it frees the other person in the relationship as well, because we're taking back our projections, at least momentarily. Okay, we're freeing us to be ourselves in the moment, and we're freeing them to be themselves, free of how I want them to be or think they should be. So it's freedom all around. And as I say, we have to do this with kindness and compassion for ourselves. and yet with a measure of what I would call spiritual or conscious sobriety, to be truthful with ourselves, to be honest with ourselves. And we do this in baby steps. We don't go from 0 to being love, in 30 seconds, okay? It's a series of little steps, one little step at a time, in the moment. Be here now, see what's going on now, course correct if you need to now. And then each of these little steps, over time, we'll find, wow, I've traveled quite a distance. Okay. We have to be a little bit playful with ourselves too, and not be overly serious. And all of our work, I believe, progresses more quickly when we're in a relaxed, calm, and playful state. We're serious about what we're doing, but we're not, taking ourselves too overly seriously. Okay. So it's the old adage, one step at a time.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think the playfulness and not taking everything too seriously is, of course, a big part in this
Mhm.
whole process of really mastering this sort of power that we can have. And I want to move on to this word of Munay, which is, of course, one of the foundation principles in the Andes and in the Andean mystical traditions. To actually, yeah, you already said something about it, to
Mhm.
choose love. And for the Andean people, it's very important to cultivate this Munay and to be in right relationship with everything around them, with their family and community and also the lands and nature. And I want to ask you, could you tell us something about Munay and the
Mhm.
love under your will and what that actually means?
Yes. So Munai is the Quechua word. It can't be translated into just love in English. Okay. You'll find it that way in dictionaries and online translators and so forth. But we really need two words in English to be able to um, properly define it. And that would be the choice for love, or we say love under our will. Why do we say love under our will? Because we have a mystical anatomy. And there are two aspects of our mystical anatomy that are associated with one with will and one with feelings. One is called the Inca Muyu, the Inca seed. It's a little energetic structure in the center of your body, just below where your rib cage curves up, halfway between the front and back of your body. It's the drop of God at the moment of conception. We're a drop of the animating force, whatever God is. We're perfect. That's our spirit. It has no heaviness, no hucha. It's pure Sami, or life force energy. And the Inca seed holds within it our full potential as human beings. Okay. Which means to be able to express as our essence the highest vibration of every capacity that a human being is capable of expressing. And we say it's the center of our will because that is what holds that essence, that the high vibration of that essence and potential. But the will is also an energy in itself that exists within our Inca seed. And that will in itself is kind of driving us. We don't have to listen to it. We don't have to grow. But if we do listen to it, it's like revving us up to undertake the practices that will help us realize all of our capacities and our potential. And then we have the Sonko. The Sonko is the energetic eye in the middle of our chest. And Sonko is usually translated as heart, but it's not the physical heart. It's the energetic spiritual center of our feelings. And these are the only two parts of our energetic anatomy that are pure Sami, pure life force energy. They have no hucha or heaviness. Okay. So when we integrate our feelings with our will, we are tuning ourselves to the highest vibration of any feeling. And the main feeling, the crowning glory of feelings at our Sonko is Munai. So that's their definition of will, of Munay: love under your will, feelings under your will, the integration of your mystical feeling center and your Inca seed, your drop of the mystery, your full but as yet unrealized potential to be godlike in the human form. So their word carries within it a world of meaning about who we are and how we can develop. Um, and for this reason and other reasons, the Pacos and other Quechua peoples, they call Munay the treasure of the Andes. A treasure is something of the highest value. It's something that's precious. And that's what Munay is. That's what being love is. It's a treasure that lives within us already, that we can claim as our own if we choose to, and we do the self-work to be the owner of it. And how do we do that? How do we develop Munay? We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit in a moment. But just here again, I have to just stress that we don't do it by beating ourselves up. We do it by being clear-eyed and by bringing compassion to the self, by seeing both our own inner treasures and our own, fool's gold, so to speak. Okay, but we do it incrementally. Maybe I'm in a relationship where I can just barely tolerate the person. That's okay. You don't have to like everyone. But if you want to cultivate yourself to be love, then you'll recognize, wow, I can barely tolerate this person. God loves this person. This person is worthy of love. So what can I do to get past just this tiny little drop of Munay that I'm calling tolerance? And I'll start looking at myself. What do I find? What am I intolerant of in this person? What do I expect from this person that they're not giving me, or I think they're incapable of giving me? So we ask all those kinds of questions around our wants, our needs, our projections, how they're triggering us, all of those kinds of things. And then we might just take a baby step. Maybe we'll just work on moving from barely being able to tolerate to that person, to be able to just be kind to them. That can be a great leap in that relationship. It's a small leap in terms of getting to being love, but it's an important leap. It's an important step nonetheless. Once we're then cultivating being kind to that person, then maybe you can get to the point where you say, there's a lot I don't like around this person, and that's okay. I don't have to like everyone, but there's got to be things in this person that I can take delight in. Let me focus on what I find delightful about this person. There's something like that in everyone, so it's that choice. Munay is a spectrum from barely being able to tolerate people, to calmness, to peace and kindness, to benevolence, to delight, to devotion. And we'll work ourselves through all of those expressions of Munay a little at a time. And we'll be proud of ourselves for making the effort and making the step from tolerance to kindness, and maybe from kindness to finding something to delight in this person. Those are little treasures in our treasure chest.
Right. Beautiful. So essentially, everybody has that Munai essence within them. It's just the way of how to really, yeah, grow and
Mhm,
cultivate that essence further
mhm.
by also working on yourself, as you said, and yeah, become more, toleratable, if that's a word, to tolerate anybody and see actually the beauty or something in anybody
Mhm,
around you, right?
mhm,
And would you consider, because when I was in the Andes as well, the Munai, you could feel that really in that whole land and from the peoples. And uh, I would feel really that the people there are really sort of hold that essence very strongly. And so it's maybe more advanced than us, perhaps here in the Netherlands, where I'm from. Um, is it still kind of a lifetime practice for everybody? Would you consider that something like that?
Yes, the Pacos I've worked with, Andean people, they're beautiful people. Culturally, spiritually, their cosmovision, some of their mythology tells us that there are three children of God. And these we can think of these as like civilization that are the character of certain civilizations, and that in the Andes, the Quechua peoples, that they're the carriers of feelings of Munay. They've worked it, they're cultivated. It's the essence of their cultural identity or spirit. We in the first world countries in Europe and US, that our civilizational template gift essence is yachai, is knowledge. We're the scientists and the philosophers and the explorers and the development of medicine and technology and all these kinds of things. And the third characteristic of a civilization, and this is really across all of them, I think it's mutual, is yankai, to be able to do. So if you're a feeling culture, to be able to express those feelings and live from aini, reciprocity, or munai. For yachai, to be able to be the inventor or the explorer or the educator or whatever. Okay. But they're very clear-eyed and practical, and they say, we have munai, but we're lacking in yachai. A large part of the indigenous peoples, through no fault of their own, but still they acknowledge, are unschooled. A lot of them still illiterate, especially in the last few generations. They don't have technology. They're living in a very primitive, have been living in a very primitive kind of lifestyle. They want what yachai, they want to be brought into the modern world. There's nothing wrong with that. We get over our little sentimentalization of the indigenous cultures. Excuse me. But so the way they see it is, yes, come be with us because you are the carriers of yachai. Teach us yachai. Share your yachai with us. Okay. And we're the carriers of feelings and munai, and you're not very good as a culture dealing with your feelings. We will teach you how to develop your feelings. This is the beautiful global uh, human field of Aini. Okay. But that's the global level. But at the local level, let me tell you, the Pacos are human beings. I've seen them get kind of, snitty and jealous and angry. They're at the human level, we're all working to develop our Munai, including the Pacos. They're not enlightened human beings. They're not sixth-level human beings that are being love. They're working toward it as well.
Right,
Which is why they can show us the way. And we
right.
can show them other ways as well, beyond the ways that they've developed themselves. Um, so, well, I'll just end it there.
Yeah, great.
There's so much to say.
Yes, I know it's a big world out there. I just see a really nice comment from Marianne. She says, being squeezed is a test of where we are at, I think. And I feel like I'm doing pretty well. And then something happens again, like a trigger, and oops, not so great, more work to be done. And I feel like that's exactly how we're sort of always evolving and learning to sort of grow and expand also, particularly on our Munai as well.
Mhm.
So I thought that's a nice comment as well.
Yeah, that's the process. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Right, right.
We keep going though. We don't get discouraged. We keep going.
Yeah, yeah. So I also know maybe not that everybody is familiar with the Andean traditions and Andean terminology, but I'm grateful that you're sharing all of these things already, or some of the key principles. But what I also want to bring up here is a really beautiful phrase or prayer that has been used by the Pacos, which is called Tukui Munay Niyok, and it means to access the fully developed power of the heart. And I think it's just a beautiful thing to actually ask for or be conscious about on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Could you share something about that?
Yes, the once you take these steps to be love, if you can work your way up this stairway of consciousness to be love, when that is your essence and you are love, the terminology in the Andes would be that you're a tukwi munai niak. And you break the word down, tukwi means something like the total or complete. That's on the front end of the word. At the tail end of the word's niak, and that means to own or possess. So you're the total owner of what's ever in the middle term. In this case, tukwi munai niak. When you are being love, you are the total owner of love. Um, you're the owner of the treasure of Munai and the treasure of the South.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for explaining that again for me as well. Yeah.
I'll spell it. Someone's asking to spell it, so I
Oh,
will spell it the way I mean, there's different ways of spelling Quechua,
yes.
but it's all one word. It's not broken up into separate words. And I spell it Tukuy. In this case, Munay, Munay, Nioq, Nioq. Tukui Munay Niok. Okay. Yes, it's on the chat right now.
Great. So that's clear for everybody as well. So you were already also mentioning something about these challenges, and that also came up in a comment that Spirit Mind gives us to really master this art of being in love, or being love, excuse me, being in love. Uh, could you say something about that, like how that sort of journey sort of goes for someone to, being faced by these challenges that one needs to maybe experience
Mhm.
on his journey?
Yeah, if you practice the Andean tradition, then you know it's a very practical, down to earth tradition. Um, and that serves us well in any kind, I think, of self-development, to be really grounded and and efficient in the use of our energy and practical. And so, that practicality tells us that we're going to have to learn this step, to develop ourselves step by step, and that there are going to be challenges, there's going to be progress, and there's going to be setbacks. Okay. Um, and we practice being love with those we have already a great relationship with. We'll try to raise the vibration. But we don't wear rose-colored glasses. And so we have to acknowledge that the real place you're going to learn love is with those people you don't love. Okay. There's this wonderful um, little concept that was from a friend of mine, Gloria Karpinski. She's a writer and a teacher, not of the Andean tradition, but of just general spiritual traditions. And anyway, she wrote something in one of her books, and I always remembered it because I took it to heart for my own work. Um, and it's something along the lines of, so you say you want to be love, the universe will listen, and the universe will then send you 10 people you can't stand and say, be love. And I think that's a truth. no matter whether it's love or whatever other capacity that we're trying to develop in ourselves. We've learned, I think it's more difficult to learn through the places we have the most resistance and we feel the least comfortable, but those are the places we make the greatest progress. So this is about bringing all of that observation and self-inquiry to all of the people that we don't even want to spend our energy on. Can we be love with them? And it doesn't have to be this, godlike love. It can simply be tolerance or a little bit of delight or peace and calm or kindness, anything's better than nothing kind of a thing. But I think we have to be prepared for suddenly all of these situations. When we cultivate our observation, we'll find all kinds of opportunities to practice that we would have not seen before, or maybe seen and just, sloughed off and moved past. We'll stop now and we'll take each opportunity to hone the sword of ourselves, and to slay our own, cut away our own ties that bind us to judgment and want and need and desire in ways that are keeping us from being able to connect in Aini and Munay with another person. So we'll take all of the opportunities that are available to us and recognize that the most difficult opportunities in front of us are probably going to be the most valuable in terms of our growth.
Yeah.
It's a practice. It's a practice,
Yes, it certainly is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think yeah, it certainly is a whole practice. And what just comes to my mind if we think of ourselves and talking again about our yachai, or the Western, more developed center, so the head center, the mind, and that's also where a lot of judgment comes. So I think all of these things that you also were saying are also very much related to that. Again, the mind part that's actually sort of blocking these things to actually really come to our feelings and open our heart as well. And I know that you also have some steps to develop actually the Munai practically within ourselves. Can you share something about
Sure.
that?
Yeah. Well, I said at the beginning that the work starts with the self. Okay. We can only love others in proportion to how we love ourselves. We can only delight in others in the proportion to which we delight in ourselves. Okay. So we have to start by looking inside. The Pacos, as far as I know, and I have never heard from Juan, given us explicit steps. In many of their trainings, there's the conscious patanyan, the stairway of the 7 steps of developing consciousness. There's steps to developing Aini. They don't give us explicit steps, as far as I know, to developing Munai, but they infer them in a lot of their teachings. But what I'm going to talk about now is something that comes from Don Juan and Don Ivan. I believe that they've taken this from the Greek tradition because it dovetails so beautiful to what the Andeans teach, but I can't be 100% certain. But it would be 4 steps to develop Munai. And the first would be care. And well, let me tell you the steps. The steps would be care, and then you move up to virtue, and then you move from virtue to humility, and then humility to healing. Okay. So care, Juan says, is a radical way of taking care of yourself. Okay. Because this is where we really have to take off the rose-colored glasses and really look at ourselves, but at the same time, bring compassion to ourselves. We're masters at beating ourselves up. We're really quick to notice, blame, shame, guilt, all of those kinds of things. Unless our culture just teaches us you don't ever, congratulate yourself. That's vanity. No, it's not. We have to be totally aware of our gifts, of the gifts we've already developed. And we have to, it's like the scales of justice. It's not going to all be looking at our heaviness, our hucha. We have to look at our gifts and our compassion and the capacities we've developed. So this is what's radical about it. We're going to be really truthful with ourselves. So it's not about whitewashing anything, but it's also not about being overly modest about the self as well. And so care means to use your personal power and your will to look at yourself, to congratulate yourself where you have developed some very healthy and life-affirming human qualities, and to acknowledge where there are some deficits. And then to bring your will and your self-care and compassion to saying, I choose to improve those places where I feel I can do better. But it's not just thinking about them. It's not kind of psychoanalytical. It's not, it's about doing. It's about bringing that to the world. So even if you recognize your deficits and you're not skilled at one aspect of a capacity, you still practice it. You'll get better with time. And those gifts that you have, you don't hold them in abeyance because somebody else might think you're stuck up or you're being goody two-shoes or whatever. You never hold back your gifts, okay? And so in this sense of caring for yourself, it's like the first glimpse of you seeing yourself through Creator's eyes. Because Creator sees you just as you really are and still loves you. And that's our starting point for ourselves. If we can't do that for ourselves, we can't do it for other people. So in a sense, so this is why Juan says this is the beginning of personal freedom. The freedom to know yourself, the freedom to love yourself no matter what, which is how God loves us. So this is our first real way of using the will of our Inca seed, which is our perfected self held in potential, that drop of God within us, and unleashing it to have a true sense of ourselves and to love ourselves, whatever our condition is right now. And to know we can grow and change. The second, that brings us, once you develop that, then you're working to develop virtue. And virtue is well, we start with values. Everybody has to have a set of values to live in the human world. Those are the things that you set as your moral or ethical standards. Okay, so I could say my values among my many values are to be honest, to be in integrity, and to be loving or kind. So those are my values, but values are just a decision, a choice. They're not very powerful until they're put into action. And that's what a virtue is. A virtue is a value that you're living in your life. So it moves from my just choosing to be the standards for myself, my behavior, the way I want to be in the world as integrity and honesty and kindness, now become the way I choose to act. It's my practice to be in integrity as much as the best way I can, to be honest and to be kind. So those are values. It's much like Aini. Aini in the Andes is how intention drives energy, but there's no Aini with just intention, with just thinking about it. It has to be intention put into action. And that's the shift from values to virtue. So then you begin to live your life consciously from these standards you've set for yourself. And your values may be different from my values, and that's fine. And the thing is, on the way to being love, you have to practice these virtues without any need to be acknowledged for them, without any expectation that they'll be returned to you. They're just the essence of who you are. You've decided this is the essence of who I am, and I am going to live my life this way, regardless of how people are squeezing me, or people are, being confrontational, or what the circumstances are, or how I feel, what mood I'm in. No, it's free of these external influences. This is where when you squeeze orange, you get orange juice. That's your virtues in action as well. Once you can develop and really start living from your virtues, excuse me one sec, then we develop humility. And this is a very high vibration. I mean, most of us can make it to virtues very, with some effort. But humility is a really high vibration. It's a highly developed sense of how we see and feel and our being in the world. And because it's really tapped into the vibration of Creator, of God. Humility is the development of the sensibility that we're all part of a human family. It's the ability to feel kinship. This is more global kind of a feeling, to feel kinship with all of humanity in our humanness, just at the state humanity is in right now. Knowing that the truth of the human condition is that we can be beautiful and we can be ugly. We can be glorious and we can be despicable. And there's no judgment on that. It's just the Buddhist, this is. And even in this condition, we recognize we're all one precisely because this is the human condition. And we're all working through dealing with our human condition. It unites us all. It's the oneness of being perfectly okay with the condition of every human and our imperfect humanness. So in that sense, humility, Juan says, humility is like us being a channel for God's love, but recognizing that at our state of development right now, our love is so much less than God's love, but that's okay. That even if it's less than God's love, our sense of community as a human family and the human condition and the human struggle and in the human glory is immense. And it's without condition or restraint. So someone in the chat saying humility is a fourth level practice. Definitely. It's high fourth level. Most people never get here. We have moments of this true Aini, Munay connection with our common humanity. But then we're in the local 99% of our time, 99.999% of the time, we're in the local. And in the local, I'm dealing with crying kids and a grouchy spouse and a demanding boss and not enough money to pay the rent. And I'll tell you that it's hard to just live your virtues. Never mind, be in humility for yourself and other people. But if we can reach humility, then almost as a consequence, we begin to vibrate with a healing vibration at a healing frequency. In the Andes, they say the doorway to all healing is love. And that sense of connection, if you can get to humility, you're connecting to yourself, and you're loving and honoring your imperfect self, as well as acknowledging where you have to grow. You're doing this locally in your IU with your family and your friends. As you get to virtue, virtue is how you are out in the world. Humility is where you seek, can just touch Creator's view and see it in all of humanity. And that is the vibration of love as a healing force. There is nothing so attractive, that is such an attractive force, as love. It's like Juan says, it's irresistible, you know. And there is nothing so healing as this level of love, because this level of love says you're okay even with your hucha, and I'm willing to touch you and love you even with your hucha, and I so want you to touch me and with your love, even despite all my hucha, my heaviness. Okay, so this is the doorway to healing, is this level of Munay. This is the doorway to the fifth level of consciousness. The fifth level of, high level development of Munay, I would say, is the fourth level of consciousness. The fifth level of consciousness, you can't be trained for. You can be trained through the fourth level of consciousness, how to improve yourself. But you cannot train for the fifth level. When you reach the height of the fourth level, then it's a direct connection with God. It's like the touch of God. And you become the infallible healer. You become almost the prototype, the human counterpart of godlike qualities, able to perform miracles, really. And healing is the characteristic that identifies a fifth level person. Why? The fifth level person's an infallible healer, can heal everything, every time, never fail. Okay? Doesn't matter what it is. Why is that possible for the fifth level healer? Because they've perfected their Munay, and Munay is the energy of healing. That's how I see it anyway. My interpretation of it, based on what the Pacos tell us.
This is a very beautiful explanation, I think, of all of those levels, and I'm sure some parts are a little, intertwined. You might have, these moments of humility, but you're probably not mastering it throughout the day or all, day, a week, and months, etc. So, but I think it's yeah, how you described it all is just very, very clear and very beautiful. How we can work on ourselves really first and take care of ourselves or anything that needs attention, and then grow from there step by step, right? And
Mhm.
I also know that you have, oh, there's one person actually who put something in the chat with a question about, can
Mhm.
you please tell us the 7 names of the steps?
Yeah. Well, let me just say briefly, well, let me just be honest. No, I can't right now. Okay. But I'll explain this to you, that
Yeah.
there are a couple of different conscious patanyans in the Andean tradition. In our general training, there's the 7 levels of consciousness. Okay. And the names of the steps wouldn't mean anything to you because they're Quechua terms, and I'd have to describe what they all mean. Okay. But they're levels of consciousness from the base, raw human being as an infant, all the way up to the 7th level, which is you being godlike in the human form. Okay. What people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is that there's also a conscious patanyan of relationship, and it's 7 levels. And I don't have time to, again, here talk about it, and I don't have time in the foundation training to talk about it. So I have developed a series of what I call advanced deep dive classes. And they're 1-day, 3-hour classes that focus on just a single subject. and there's one called Holy Relationships. And in the Holy Relationships class, we go into more detail about how to step up these 4 steps of Munay, because Munay is the first step on the 7 steps to developing a holy relationship. Okay. And then we talk about all the details of what's required of the 7 stages of developing. When I say a holy relationship, I take that term from Juan, a relationship that is just total freedom, truth, integrity, honesty, and love, with beyond the needs and wants of the people involved. But it's a personal relationship, like with a life partner or a spouse or a sibling or someone. So there's another conscious patanya on that 7 steps. We talk about it in the Holy Relationships class. Do you want me to just talk about what I'm going to do with that here right now, or?
I think it will be good to maybe talk about your offerings as well,
Yeah.
because you're already talking about it.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Anything you'd like to share? Yeah.
yeah, well, so Trish and Naomi and I have talked before this class, and I mentioned that there's this conscious patanya, these 7 steps to perfect our relationships that a lot of people don't know about. But anyway, and I have this 1-day deep dive class. I only offer it once a year, and it's not till the last quarter of this year. But what I've decided to do is, for those of you who are here today, or maybe listening to this on the audio, is to offer a class just for you. If you want to participate, you can go to my blog site, which is kentiwasi.com. Kenti is spelled QENTIWASI.com. And on the top menu, it says Learn the Andean Sacred Arts. And there's a drop-down menu under that that says Upcoming Workshops. And it's a lot of offerings on that page. But if you scroll down, you'll see the deep dive that's called Holy Relationships. You can read about it there. But I am willing to have a special Holy Relationships class on Saturday, March 9th, from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time in the US. So it's $125 US payable through PayPal. But you can find all the logistics and a little bit of an overview on my blog site. I'm not sure how I guess if you would like to participate in that, do you want them to go through Shaman's directory or just directly to me, or?
Think directly to you is perfect, and
Okay.
I can already tell you that I am interested, and I can
Okay.
also encourage everybody, also those of you who don't know much about Indian traditions, if you want to look into more of the foundations, Joan is also teaching all of these courses there, so you can find it all on her website, kentiwasi.com, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a good point. A point I forgot to make is that you really need to have a little bit of a grounding in the Andean tradition, to have been through the 3-month foundation training, because this is a deep dive, and it's presupposing that you already have done the practices and know the cosmovision. So you'd have to have been trained in the Andean tradition. And so if you'd like to participate in that, just so I can plan for it, I would say by Sunday, the next 3 or 4 days. So by the end of the day, Sunday, if you could email me that you'd like to participate in it, just do that, and I'll keep a list. And then after Sunday, I'll be in touch with everyone who's in the class. And you can email me at kentiwasi@gmail.com. Okay.
Great. Yeah, well, we will make sure to put that also below our YouTube recording in the description. So there's all the information as well as now in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, I think it's really time. Yeah, it's so beautiful, all of these talks. And I think you can talk so much more about Munay. But I know that you also prepared an exercise for us
Yeah.
to open and grow our moon eyes. So would you like to guide us into this?
Yeah, so I'm going to just define a few terms. The 2 major ones I already have, but I'll remind you, especially for those who haven't worked in the Andean tradition. So the 2 terms you need to understand for this practice are sonko and Inca Muyu or Inca seed. So as I said, the Sonko is an energetic center. And I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat, but I think I'm out of time to answer a bunch of chat questions right now. So my apologies. Just the constraints of time. So the Sonko is the center of the mystical center of our feelings. It's in the chest. Okay. It's not our heart, but we can call it our heart. Okay. There's no heaviness. We can have heaviness, what we call hucha in other centers. There's no heaviness. This is the capacity here is Munay. This is love. Okay. But it's all of our feelings. Okay. Stripped of any hucha, any needs, wants. It's the purity of all of our feelings. So that's at the Sonko. In the middle of our body, down below the way your rib, your sternum, in the middle of your body, halfway front and back, is this little energetic structure that's this huge information field. It's called the Inca Muyu. It's your drop of God, we'll say. And it holds, we can be the 7th level, which is God in the human form. It holds everything a human being can be at the highest possible expression within it as this information field. Okay. So we're going to, when we integrate our will and our feelings, our Inca seed and the Inca seed is only Munay, is only Sami and Munay as well. So when we integrate these two, we produce the most amazing and high quality of inner Munay that's possible for us, this love. So we're going to do that. We're going to integrate these two centers, and we're going to, the step that I talked about, care, where you learn to love yourself and all your grandeur and all your heaviness, we're going to generate Munay, and we're going to sit in that Munay and feel the love for ourselves. Okay. But in case you have any doubt, we're going to strengthen that bond. Okay. Because we're going to connect, we're going to feel the Creator's Munay coming down through the top of our head, straight down into this integrated center. And we're going to feel that Munay just intensify because it's the love of God for us, whatever your conception of God is. And then we're going to pull in our two spiritual parents, which is Father Cosmos and Mother Earth. They love us unconditionally. And their love is a practical love. It's the love in this manifest world so that we can be love here in the flesh and in the form. Okay. So we're going to just pull in the Father Cosmos and Mother Earth's energy simultaneously and bring it down and add it to God's love and our own self-love and just bask in that Munay. And then I'm going to ask you to think of a person that you don't love, that you're in relationship with, but you have not stepped up the steps toward being loved very well. Okay. Maybe somebody you can barely tolerate. Maybe somebody that, anyways, you know what I'm saying. Somebody that you really want to step up your vibration with. Okay. I want you to just think of that person, but I want you to stay in this inner field of love. And I want you to allow, through the clarity of your mystical vision, to become aware, to gain a little bit of insight about what's preventing you, what screens you have up from being love with this person, what your wants, needs, desires, expectations are of this person that are keeping you at the level of just being barely tolerant or whatever it is. We're not analyzing it. We're just becoming aware, and we're holding it without judgment. Okay. But as we bathe it in this field of incredible love, we're going to know that love is healing. And we're just going to be open to these heavier aspects of ourselves to be transformed. Okay, to be raised up in vibration. We're going to take a little time to do that. And then we're going to just see this person that we're working with, the person that we can't tolerate or whatever. We're going to see them outside ourselves in their own little energy bubble, just hovering outside ourselves at chest level. And we're going to take this transformed, even if it's just a little bit better, doesn't have to be totally transformed, but we're going to take this self-love that's been supercharged by Creator's love and our spiritual parents, Mother, Father, Cosmos love, and we're going to send it to them. And for that few moments, we're going to be just being love with them. That's going to be our practice. And we can do this same type of thing. This isn't a practice from the Pacos. It's just taking different things they taught us, bringing it together to become a tool for us to take tiny steps toward being loved. We can use this in any circumstance with any relationship. And then we'll just soften our focus and just be back here with each other in our present state. Well, hopefully an improved state, but so that's what we're going to do, okay?
Right.
All right. So what I would ask you to do is, I want you just to forget everything I just said. I want you to just clear your mind. This is not analytical. I want you to just close your eyes and drop into your body. Drop into your body. The body is the sense meter. It's your truth meter. I want you to drop into the body, and I just want you to be who you are, exactly how you are in this moment. And then as you deepen that awareness of self, bring your attention to your Inca seed, which is in the middle of your body, this little energetic structure. That's this huge information field, all the capacities of human beings. I want you to touch the energy of the true core essence of yourself. That's basically what this is. This is the energy of you being perfect just the way you are, having developed your capacities to the level you have right now. And feel Munay. Begin to feel compassion and kindness for yourself. Feel the vibration of Munay, of love. This is the drop of God within you. And as you begin to meld with it, to be permeated by it, to become one with it, you feel the field expand up a little higher in your chest to connect to your sonko, the center of your feelings, your heart center. And this is the place of Munay. And as you feel the integration of the essence of yourself, the Munay of your Inca seed and your sonko, your feelings, the Munay, the feeling of being love and being in the field of love intensifies. You feel it, and you can just begin to feel it radiated out. It radiates out through you. And as it does, now we're going to feel the stream of Creator's love come straight down into the top of our head, streaming down into this integrated center we're in with our Inca seed and our Sanko. And now there's an even more intensification of this Munay, that you are loved exactly how you are, for who you are. And bring this love to every cell and fiber of your being. Allow yourself to be love for yourself and to be loved. And now we're going to intensify it a little more, because we're going to bring in the energy of our spiritual parents. Creator is the our essence, our origin point from the unmanifest world, and Father Cosmos and Mother Earth are the spiritual parents in this manifest world. Feel their energy, their love for you, their Munay streaming in to the top of your head simultaneously, Father Cosmos, Mother Earth, and down into this integrated field in the center of your being, adding the love that is able to be expressed in this manifest world through your human body, your mind, your heart, your feelings. This love field now is just super refined, and just be in it and be it for a few moments. And now as you sit in that field of the highest vibration of love, I want you to just bring to your awareness someone from your life that you're having trouble being love with, that you can maybe barely tolerate, someone where there's uh, a need for improvement in your relationship. And as you just bring that person to mind, I want you not to think about that person. I want you to stay deep in the center of your being and let arise into this field of healing love anything that bubbles up in you about what it is in you, a want, a need, a desire, an expectation, a projection. What is it in you that is screening your ability to be in a more Munay-filled relationship with this person? Don't judge it, just say, this is within me, and let it be held in this high vibration of Munay. And as they're held there, as those wants, needs, desires are held there, just stay open that this amazing field of love can soften your resistances, can even maybe dissolve them. Just allow for that possibility that love is healing. This is the healing of the self. And when you feel you've received some insight and maybe some of these resistances have been softened or dissolved, then call that person's to be in front of you in their own energy body, hovering like in their energy bubble in front of you at heart level, and send some of this greater love you've just developed, you've just honed, send it on a stream out from your Sonko to the bubble of this person, taking responsibility for your part of the relationship, for who you want to be, what your virtues are, what your essence is, that can lift this relationship to the next level. Freeing yourself and freeing the other person from any constraints. This is love empty of anything but love. And then when you're ready, just soften your focus. Be in gratitude for all of the love that is available to you if you'll just let it in. And then we'll come back together as a group, as an IU.
Wow, thank you, Joan. It
You're
was definitely
welcome.
be again also a powerful practice. Something
Mhm.
came up as well. Yeah, something around the throat, I felt.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, there's always some work to do
There
to
is.
go deep to your Munay. And it was a very deep, yeah, practice. So thank you. I see also a comment that you're a great teacher as well. So
Thank you.
I want to open it up as well further. If you want to share anything further, or also for the people in this ALU, in this community, in this group, if anybody wants to raise a question or ask something, then we can yeah, touch upon it as well. So now is the time to maybe put in your question in the chat box. And I saw like an earlier question, and it's maybe a big question as well, that we couldn't get into. But would you like to maybe go into that one, which was about if you're suffering from illness, can you only heal yourself by love?
That's a bit of a complex kind of consideration question, because there's a lot that goes into illness. The Andeans, I say, are very practical. They recognize that we're physical beings and we're emotional beings and we're energetic beings. And illness is not a result of our hucha. Hucha, our heaviness, does not cause illness. Illness can come from, most often, it's on a physical level. It could be something genetic. It could be a toxin. It could be a virus, a bacteria, whatever. Okay. Um, but how we respond to that illness is what we can take some responsibility for. That, of course, we acknowledge that our emotions and our our way of thinking and being affects our immune system, so it can affect the course of the illness, making it maybe worse or helping it get better. So there's a number of levels of healing. There's not just one level of healing. There's physical healing. If you have a bacterial infection, an antibiotic can help, or maybe essential oils, or herbs. Okay, there's physical and physical. Look at your emotional self. How is my emotional state either um, uh, supporting or depressing my immune system? And then there's the spiritual component. How am I dealing with this? So we have to look at those things first. Okay. But the doorway, but doing that is activating your self-care at all levels of the self, the physical, the emotional, the energetic, the spiritual. Okay. And at every one of those levels, it's not about getting mad and having a hissy fit and being depressed. It's about being objective and being loving with yourself. What are my physical habits? What are my emotional habits? What are my, am I working energetically, or those kinds of things? So in that kind of holistic sense, yes, Munai's the doorway to healing. It's not a healing force until we tune it in a certain way. This is where it gets complex, because we have to be able to be at the vibration of Munai in order to even undertake healing in terms of energetic healing, like we talk about energy workers or spiritual healers. But in the Andes, we then tune the Munai. We have to raise our vibration to Munai, and then we have to tune Munai to the next higher frequency, which is called Hampe Munai. Hampe Munai is healing love. And we do that in a very specific way. We get the help of Father Cosmos and Mother Earth, and we integrate the two great creative powers inside us, and we speed the Munay up. Then we reach Hampe Munay, and we can direct this Hampe Munay out as a healing force. There are still even higher levels of healing energy, what's called Wilka energy, which is a black light energy, and the highest level is called Tawantin energy. And part of our practice on the Andean path is to learn to tune energy and use it. So there's lots of ramifications about just saying Munay is the doorway to healing. Sorry, I didn't mean to run on, but I want to show you that the Andean path is very, very simple, but within its simplicity, it's like getting a PhD in energy dynamics. Their sophistication of how they are sensing and perceiving and tuning and moving and driving energy is nothing short than mastery level, PhD level. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways we can develop our ability to move energy in a healing capacity.
I love that answer, and also this PAG of energy
Yeah.
mastery. But yes, as you said, there's probably many dimensions, but this is a good principle foundation also to practice, right? This
Yes. Yeah. And
capacity of Munai, yes, for everyone.
yes.
Yeah.
The reason that Munay is the doorway to healing is like if you're a healer, you have a clinic or you're working on a family member, because Munay will make you unafraid of actually touching that person's hucha. You have to be willing to touch another person's heaviness before you can even hope to be to send a healing force. And the doorway to that is through love, is through Munay.
Right. Thank you, Joan,
You're
for
welcome.
answering this question, and a really important one. And you touch upon many different things, and I encourage also the audience to go to visit Joan's website because she has so much to teach around this, and yeah, to hone your energy work and become all better in it. In the cultivation of your Munai. So this is really great. And I just wanted to say to you, Joan, I saw a lot of gratitude messages in the chat box. So I wanted to
Mhm.
share that with you as well.
Thank you. And my gratitude back to everyone for being here.
Yeah,
Um, so,
great. Because I think we're kind of getting into the closing as well. If you have anything else to say, Joan, you're welcome to say something here as well.
um, on this Valentine's Day, I would like to express my love to all of you, my Moonite to all of you, because the world has always needed love. And we tend to think at the time we're living in is like the absolute worst time. And I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a lot of chaos and division and even hatred in the world right now. And the fact that you're here and you're interested and you're doing the work is the treasure of the world right now. Because each one of us can just bring a tiny, it's like the ocean, we're each a tiny drop of water in the ocean, but pretty soon you have this huge ocean. And we need to be a drop of Munai in the world right now so that there's a tidal wave of Munai that can bring healing and transformation to the world. And I see that. And I want to acknowledge Trish and Mayumi and her whole team, because um, that's the whole driving force behind their creation of Shaman's Directory, and for all of you for being here. So thank you.
Thank you for this beautiful message. We really love you, Joan, and for, for coming here, for participating and supporting us all the time. That really means a lot to us. So we're really grateful for you. And Yeah, I love, continue this journey with you as well. And thank you so much for this time and guiding us into this Munai practice. I think is very powerful.
Mhm.
And yeah, thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure.
And to all of you here who are participating, thank you for being here. And also to all of the listeners who will be watching this video maybe later. Thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you at one of our next live events. And you can also join our mailing list or follow us on social media so you can stay up to date when all these live events are happening if you haven't already done this. But I just wanted to mention this to you so you don't miss anything. So thank you all again for being here and sharing this beautiful space together and together also full of love on this day. And I wish you a beautiful rest of your Valentine's Day. And
Mhm.
I hope that it has inspired you to cultivate Munai from your heart or from within. So
Mhm.
thank you so much.
Thank
And I
you.
look forward to seeing you all at our next live events.
Mhm.